Good morning to the subscribers. Letters from Marion, Joel Blazer. You know, I've been a little bit busy with this rehab. We're on the beach here, Kewaunee, Algoma, Sister Bay area of Wisconsin, and the northeastern shores of Lake Michigan, a few hundred yards from the front door of my house. So the channel, I appreciate it all. And I'm glad that you're with me. You know, I started this channel and I just wanted to share some of my experience, strength, and hope. We're gonna do an LSD tip today. This is gonna be a little bit of a story talking about Marion and Gary. And I guess the LSD tip is don't limit yourself to one outcome. Don't project. Don't try to think what you would do if you're in a situation. Well, I would do this or I would do that. I'm very appreciative for all the views. I'm doing LSD tips once a week now. And then I've been doing the Supermax Property Maven series. And those will be updated sporadically, but those will be very few and far between, although I rifled off 4 right away. And then the book, I started with the introduction. And I'm not gonna ask for money. I'm not gonna ask for people to subscribe. I think we're up to 163 viewers. This just gives me an outlet to share. The house, Property Maven, that's number 56 in the last 25 years. I've been out of prison for 27 years. Marion the entire prison was 23-hour lockdown. I mean, they brought the meals to your cells, 2 15-minute phone calls a week. I think the total amount of prisoners there was 385. So, I mean, a highly specialized, super confined place. And a really good day, the guards might give you 90 minutes outside your cell. So, okay, we'll get to the story. Gary was a compadre of mine. I believe I was in C block or C unit in Marion, and there was action on my appeal, but we weren't sure. I think I was in the 6th or 7th Eastern District of Kentucky, and Gary was walking around the yard with me, and he said, you know, and I'm a first-time nonviolent offender, and he asked me about what I would do when I got out, and would I be coming back to prison. And before I give you my answer, Gary, you know, he showed me an article. 3 people were shot execution style on a beach in Florida. And he ended up beating that case, but he got busted for the bank robbery, and he was finishing up a 12-year sentence. And they robbed this bank, and there was a couple thousand single-dollar bills amongst a few $100,000 of other money in Indiana. And at some point, his wife or girlfriend and 2 of their family members were found shot execution style on the beach in Florida. And there were, you know, they had questioned the wife, and she was going to testify, but they needed more evidence because they found a bunch of singles. They had thought he had done it, but they really had no evidence. So it was a very weak case. Anyway, he got convicted and was on death row in the state of Florida for those 3 murders. And he showed me a newspaper article, and it said in the article the name Gary. It didn't say the last name, an Indiana man. But he ended up beating the case because they had paid a witness, a cell block snitch, to say all these things. And then years later, he was exonerated. And he never said to me whether he did it or not. The evidence was exceptionally weak in that case. And we can go more into the death row stories of Gary later. But anyway, that's just giving you the background of the wickedness of this dude. But very gentle heart, very kind. So we're walking the yard. Anyway, the feds picked up the case and they got him for the bank robbery, and they gave him like 12 or 13 years. He went straight to Marion. And I don't know, he had 8 or 9 years left, 6 or 7, whatever. And I said to him, I responded to him when he said, "Are you ever going to come back if you win your appeal?" And I, you know, I had to relearn this. The answer that I gave him, I had to relearn it in the 12-step program once I got out, because I tend to imbibe in drinking and other things a little too much. But I said, I can't predict the future, Gary. I know I don't want to come back, but I don't know if I will come back. I want to do everything in my power to not come back. Now, this is a guy, I mean, I think he was on death row for 10, 12, 15 years, a long time before he beat his case, many, many years. And he'd been in the Fed system a number of years. And he touched my arm and he turned me around and he said, you know, you're the third person that I've asked. Actually, he'd been in the Fed system for a long time. Well, the system he had been in a long time. And he said, I always ask people that question, but only 3 times have I ever gotten that answer. And he says, you got a shot at it. He said, because predicting the futures we can't do. He's like, everybody that says I'm not going to come back, I'm never going to come back, they always come back. And, you know, I never wanted to go back. I don't know if it made me stronger, but it's something that I went through, and that's just the way that it is. So the LSD tip for today is to not commit yourself to one outcome, because the outcomes are infinite and you're picking one. And so if you were a Vegas odds, you know, putting down the Vegas odds, you would always bet against somebody projecting something in that sense. And so saying what you would do in the future, like people say, well, I wouldn't rat. You know, I didn't rat, and I was facing 40 years, and I was just a young 23-year-old punk ass ever. You know, no testifying, no fucking documents, nothing signed, no names, never. I mean, I took my case to a jury trial. My appeals were an interesting story, and that's for another take, because the 2 appeals were just unbelievable that I won. Actually gave back 90 months. One I gave back 60 and one I gave back 30. An incredible stroke of luck. But the thing is, by that answer, and it wasn't a well thought out answer, I just spit it out because I didn't know what the future held. But I knew that I never wanted to come back to prison. I'd stopped selling drugs before I went to prison, but then, you know, I sold heroin in 3 federal prisons to support a marijuana habit. But once I was released, and when I was released, there was never anything. I mean, I'm a square, I do what I do. And so to have the humbleness to know that you don't know, I think to understand, back to the circle of competence, that not predicting the future, and knowing that I didn't want to come back. So the LSD tip, I guess, is to try not to predict the future and be humble. Know what you want and go for it. And for me, when my expectations are lower, my serenity is higher. I love you all. Thank you for watching, and I really appreciate it. And again, if you want to do any support for me, the only thing I would ask is to get the book. The hardcovers are sold out. The second book will be out shortly. I've been a little busy with this project, but it's very fun. It's my the Supermax Property Maven series, which is also on this channel, are my faves because I'm an artist and my canvas is buildings. So if you want to support me, Kindle and Nook, which is Barnes & Noble and Amazon, have it electronically. I'm pretty sure that the readers are free, and even if you get it, you can give it as a gift. It's $9.95 and I get 70%. There are hard copies available from people selling them, but they've been going as high as $99 since I had the Soft White Underbelly interview. I have a couple, but I need them for the movie deal people, because when they call me up and say send me a copy, I need to send them a copy, because they need a hard copy over the other ones. But I only have 8 or 10 of them myself, so I appreciate it. I love you all. Peace, love.